Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Kim. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I want to at least meet face to face.
One day.
Well,
One day.
virtually face to face, right?
Hey, Luca.
Patrick, are you a Cubs or a Sox fan, or do you not care?
No, I care. Oh,
Did you
my
hear about
God.
Anthony?
Did they trade him today?
To the Yankees. It just happened.
No, I was watching that and waiting because I saw the note that Brizzo didn't play today.
No, they didn't.
Waiting. I know, and they had Kevin. They had Chris Bryant on deck, like in the hole.
No.
But
Riz didn't even get one last bat in. That stinks.
He got his at bat yesterday, right? But so they traded him to the Yankees.
Yeah, to the Yankees.
That's not going to work out.
They don't deserve him.
No, I'm serious. This is not good news, actually. You know, like these guys are, I don't know, they've been really sucking up the joint lately. They were 43-30 at one point. Oh, now they're like 50 and whatever, 55 or something. But like, I just wish they would have, made the commitment to keep them for the rest of the year, and then we'll see what happens. Because these guys, you never know. They might think about, well, you know what? I'll take the discount. I want to stay with the team. I'm a Cubby for life and that kind of stuff. And it just, you want to see guys play 10, 15 years with one team. I don't know. Now I'm feeling the Roundtable has been canceled.
Honestly, Patrick, I was kind of feeling that way. I was like, I don't know, not my usual peppy self.
And I hate the media. They've been talking about this for like 3 or 4 weeks. And it's like, are they the ones putting this out there and giving Hoyer the idea that, oh, I could get a ransom? Because what they get for Rizzo?
They didn't say yet.
Yeah, it's probably like 4 minor leaguers or whatever, Class A kids, fall league type stuff. Thanks, Kim. Nice to meet you.
Sorry.
Oh, God. That's beautiful. Hey, Miss Fakuri, I think I owe you a phone call.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I owe you a phone call, right?
I'm sorry.
Do I owe you a phone call? I know you called
Oh,
me.
yeah. I called you yesterday, actually. Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about site number 2. Is it possible to submit any RFP, or what's the situation with that?
Well, I think you would be. So were you at the you weren't at the last meeting where you had the evaluation committee? And we can chit chat about this slightly because we have a few minutes before we actually start.
Yes.
So the development team proposed a split site option to respond to community input, which was asking for reduction of density and units at the RFP site. And so they proposed a second building at the 79th and Halsted corner.
Yes.
So before you respond, why don't we talk about that offline, and I'll call you tomorrow, and we could speak about development in the corridor. So, yeah.
I appreciate that, because I just want to give you a heads up. I've been working with different entities.
Okay, but do you want to say that right now?
No.
Okay, so let me call you tomorrow. Just
Okay.
give me a time I can call you.
What's tomorrow? Tomorrow.
It's Friday.
Tomorrow, what about 2:00?
Okay, great. I'll call you around then.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
thanks.
Mm,
I wanted to say hello because I saw you pop up on the
Thank you.
call. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Patrick, can you hear me?
I can hear you well. And just everybody, as you're coming in, you're aware that their meeting is being recorded. We hit the record button early just to make sure that we don't forget to hit that button. So nice to see all of you. I see the names in the participants list. I see Ms. Clayton, Miss Neal, Miss Charity. Hello, Helen Charity. How are you? Linda J. Yep, yep.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to try to keep this roundtable on time. Hello, Miss Jeanette. You did a great job today.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. I had to find the
Very good.
unmute button.
Yeah, you did a good job today. I was watching you really MC that discussion. Very good.
Yeah, I take my hat off to the folks who have to do this on a regular basis.
I know, right? Yeah, I know.
A lot of coordination, a lot of coordination. Glad you were able to join.
Yeah, I know. It was on my calendar. I made sure I put some quality time to that today. I wanted to see a few of those roundtables, those workshops. Very good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's an exciting time. A lot of resources out there for development in our communities. So hopefully folks take advantage of that after they are made aware of these resources.
Yeah, and I think our work, we are very intentional about thinking about opportunities to get that capital flowing. So I'm actually very excited and energized as well. And we had a pretty good turnout too. So more to come on that for sure.
Yeah, maybe we could talk offline, at least maybe go back and forth on the email, but maybe one of these days we would like to have the trust come and do like a 5 or 10 minute presentation on some of the resources that you have to actually fund some of the pre-development and bigger projects, especially as we have a tremendous investment here in Auburn Gresham that most of the folks here on this line that are excited about. So we should talk offline. I think you'd be a good value add. But we thank you for
No, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I agree with your agreement. All right. Okay. All right.
Thanks.
I'm trying to psych myself up here. Somebody told me some bad news earlier. Yeah. Anyway. But yes, Kim, I did grow up a Cub fan. I like the Sox too. I've been to more Sox games because the tickets are easier to get. But yeah, I love the Cubs. All right, we've got, I think, 29 people on the call here. It'll probably be a good time to start. Let me just make sure the Alderman's here. Hey, Cornelia, is the Alderman on the line? Is he here? I see his name, but I know he could be doing some other things and just getting ready. Okay, well, all right.
No pressure. He's on. He's
Okay,
on.
all right, great. Okay, we're gonna start then. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. This is roundtable number 12. Imagine that. This is roundtable number 12. We have been hosting these community roundtable meetings in Auburn, Gresham since May 2020. And we're happy to be here again this evening. Can't wait to have more in-person opportunities, as it's most likely going to be a better result for all of us the sooner we get back to being face-to-face. With that being said, tonight's agenda. Tonight's agenda, we're gonna get an update from CDOT, the Chicago Department of Transportation. They have a tremendous investment here in our neighborhood, and they're going to give us a briefing on the streetscape. We have updates from the Department of Planning and Development on the Small Business Improvement Fund and the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. We're happy to have Kimberly Brisky, who is Director of Community Engagement with Summer Corps, which is our sub-grantee, and administers the program for the department. And then Deputy Commissioner Jim Harbin will present for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund and give us an update on that. And then we have Lydia Ross, who's the Program Director with Public Art. Many of you know her. She's been to the roundtable frequently. She's going to give us an update on the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events Artist in Residence program. And we have our artist in residence, Dorian Sylvan, who is also here today. And then finally, we'll get community updates from our LISC Priority Corridor Manager, which is Chatham Business, led by Linda Kelly. We'll have Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corp, and I believe Norma Sanders is here. She's their second in command to Carlos Nelson and runs the office and many of the programs that you all have been seeing and receiving. And then the aldermanic offices are here this evening. If they have updates, we will allow them to also brief and give you some valuable information. Then we'll have next steps and meeting dates for our future meetings. Okay, so with that, I do want to ask, is anyone here representing the media? I'd like to know. Okay, I hear none, I see none. Okay, well, just wanted to ask and call you out and say good evening to those who represent the media if we had them, but they're not here. Okay, great. So let's move on. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Lubka Benick, who is the Director of Livable Streets for the CDOT program. And she will be presenting, and I'm not sure if Camille Applewhite, the consultant that works in concert with CDOT, is here as well, but Lubka Benick is here. Let's give her our attention.
Thank you, Patrick. Camille is not here today. I have Chad Ogren, who's with us today, who's the project manager for this project. Thank you, DPD, and thank you, Roundtable, for having us here tonight. We wanted to come and introduce a very exciting investment that we are embarking on for corridor improvements on 79th Street and Halsted. Next slide, please. So the project is supporting the Invest Southwest initiative to reactivate neighborhood cores that have historically served as focal points for pedestrian activity, for shopping, services, transportation, public spaces, and quality of life amenities for residents. It's also part of Mayor Lightfoot's 5-year capital plan that will invest in communities through infrastructure. And the Streetscape project consists of infrastructure, pedestrian safety, and placemaking improvements with the goal of creating a unified, safe, and walkable and attractive street. And it's comprehensive, and that includes all the improvements in the public right-of-way between the building face to the building face. In general, the project includes a public outreach component as well as a placemaking and urban design strategy. We'll do concept development. We'll do detailed design and engineering, and then eventually the construction of the corridor. Next slide, please. So the limits of the project are 79th Street between Fielding and Paulina, and Halsted between 78th Street to 80th Street. And in general, the scope includes kind of a refresh of the previously completed streetscape. So 79th Street was streetscaped probably a decade, 10 to 15 years ago from Ashland to Halsted. So really looking at that, seeing what worked, what didn't, addressing all of the infrastructure needs and seeing what can remain. And I do have a slide here kind of starting that conversation that I want to share with you at the end of this short presentation. But it'll include full width street resurfacing. We'll look at doing drainage improvements. So if there's areas of standing water or flooding within the right of way, we'll be looking to fix that, improve that. New sidewalk, curb and gutter, pedestrian safety improvements. This could be in the form of curb extensions where we shorten the crossing distances at intersections and make pedestrians more visible to vehicles. ADA ramps and new crosswalks, making sure that they're highly visible so pedestrians feel safe crossing the street. Street lighting, so new street lighting. There's some ornamental poles that you already have on 79th Street. So taking a look at those, seeing if they need to be just upgraded to the new LED lighting and smart lighting, or whether those poles need replacement, and then extending that installation on the entire length of 79th Street as well as Halsted. Traffic signal upgrades, so looking at traffic signals and making sure they're upgraded with the latest and greatest, making sure they have pedestrian countdown timers, all new pavement markings and street signage. We'll look at ways of enhancing the sidewalk area or the parkway with maybe paver parkways. So looking to really create something unique for the corridor. We'll take those improvements down the side streets to the alleys within the limits. And then site furniture and potential seating areas. So seeing where we can create some community gathering places, particularly where we do extend the sidewalk for curb extensions or bump outs. There tends to be ample room for some nice seating areas or potentially for identifiers or kiosks. We gain a little bit of room in the right of way to be able to do things like that. This site furniture will include benches and trash cans and bike racks along the corridor. And then we'll also be looking at the light pole identifiers and gateway identifiers. So really designing those for the community. And tree planting and potential landscaping along the corridor. And this will really, the landscaping will really depend on a maintenance plan that we hope to work out with the community. And then upgrades at the viaduct for the new Auburn Gresham Metro Station. So they're redoing the structure and we're looking at doing upgrades to the surface below. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick slide to show you some of the improvements that we would be doing. So beyond infrastructure repair and state of good repair to the asphalt and to the concrete, we'll also be looking to enhance certain things. So here you'll see images of those paver parkways that I spoke of, different bike racks. In the center top image is a picture of what we call a gateway identifier or vertical identifier. It's a larger kind of identifying piece. Trash receptacles in the upper right, you'll see safety upgrades in the form of pedestrian countdown timers, new crosswalks. We'll either be doing upgraded crosswalks as you see here with the red stamped asphalt or high visibility crosswalks. Looking at planting more trees along the corridor. We have an option of installing planters. The picture here shows above ground planters. So these sit on the surface of the sidewalk, but there's also an opportunity to do in-ground planters. I think some of these have been done along the corridor. And I know there's a lot of ornamental fence that needs replacement or needs to be completely removed. So we'll be taking care of that, as well as identifiers. And coincidentally, here's your Auburn Gresham identifier that was previously done, as well as new lighting, which is pictured in the bottom right. And then seating. Here is picture of a bump out on the bottom left. This is the curb extension that I was speaking of. So really kind of shortening the crossing distance across the intersection. And then a new ADA ramp. So making sure everyone can cross the street safely. Next slide, please. And this is just a quick slide to show you how all this kind of comes together. We have some renderings here of projects currently in design, and then to the right, a couple pictures showing some finished product of the sidewalk space, what it looks like once the streetscape comes through, and also what a seating or gathering area or seating pod could look like. Next slide, please. And so we wanted to go through the project schedule. So this is the public outreach schedule. And what we show here is in spring of 2021, which was end of April, beginning of May, we kicked off the design of the project. We met with the Alderman's office and introduced the project, and we began our existing conditions analysis. And you may have seen some workers out on the street. They were doing the topographic survey and doing an existing condition assessment. We'll also be coordinating with utilities during this time. And we are here right now at the beginning of the summer 2021 segment, where we're holding our first Invest Southwest Roundtable to quickly introduce the project to you. We'll be coming back to this forum to share more updates with you and share more detail as we work through the design of the project. And we'll also be having the first public meeting open to everyone later this summer, as well as a project survey. We found that the project survey has been very successful, and this will kind of ask questions about what your concerns are, what you love about Auburn Gresham, where you think we need to pay particular attention to. Are there, what are your preferences for things? And we've been getting great results for that. I think the last survey we did for a project, we received 1,300 responses. So that's a really good response rate. And so we hope that everyone here, once we get that survey out, if you can spread the word and pass that survey around and spread the notice for the public meeting around, just to make sure that we get all those people in attendance and participating. We'll do individual stakeholder meetings or interviews as required, particularly major maybe businesses or along the corridor that their operations may be impacted. And then we'll develop preliminary concepts. So these concepts will be looking at the roadway geometry, seeing how wide the travel lanes are, how wide the parking lanes are, how wide is the sidewalk, and where can we shift space to better accommodate all the users of the roadway. And then in fall of winter 2021, we'll have a second round of public meeting and project survey, and be presenting the preferred concept for the corridor. And then winter 21-22, we'll have the final meeting where we present the final design. And throughout this, we're happy to attend the Invest Southwest Roundtable meetings, if I didn't mention it already, to give updates. Next slide, please. And this slide shows the design and construction schedule. So as you see in 2021 Q2, which is around in April, we started the design and are doing the concept development, which includes all the existing conditions analysis and traffic analysis and crash data. And we'll present all that back out to you once we summarize it and get it all into a presentable format. And then once that concept is developed and we choose the preferred concept, we move into final design. This is where we actually do all the engineering, create and design and create construction documents that we will then bid for a contractor. And then construction is anticipated to be in 2 sections. We don't know the limits of each section yet. We'll be figuring that out throughout this process. And it is anticipated to start late 2022 through 2024. And they won't be happening at the same time, but be more sequential. But as we get through the process, we'll definitely be sharing the updates with you, so you're fully aware. And during construction, we used to have a field office on all the corridors. Hopefully by the time we get in construction, that is the case, and we're not doing this virtually. So we'll have a field office. We have those weekly meetings. They are open to the public, and we do want to coordinate with all of the property owners and businesses along the corridor. So we encourage people to come, especially when it's time to coordinate work in front of your property. And we'll also, before construction, you'll also be receiving a flyer that it's coming. So we'll be in contact with everyone quite often during this process. And this slide, we just wanted to get your initial feedback. You can chat it. I think people, Patrick, I don't know if people are free to talk, but this was the previous community identifiers that were installed along 79th Street. And one of the things we wanted to do through this design process is to see if the community is still wanting these identifiers. We noticed that the light pole identifiers pictured here are faded and they're quite small. They're about 2.5 feet. And we tend to now do 8-foot identifier. So much bigger, much more prominent, right, along the corridor. And so we will be replacing these. And I guess one of the questions is, do we replace it with the same particular theme, or do we move away from that? And where the community kind of sits with that. Just some history on this, and maybe some of you here know more than I do about this. This is what we've been able to gather through project files and sorts, is that these were representing cultural symbols and patterns from the Akan people of Ghana. Pardon me. And the light pole identifier was designed to represent the patterns and colors of the kente cloth. And the kente cloth is a hand-woven colorful pattern cloth. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it. And then the symbols that you see both in the center of the light pole identifier as well as in the sidewalk medallions pictured here are the Adinkra symbols that represent various concepts. And the one in the light pole identifier represents welcome. And these 3 other symbols, one of them, the top one, represents friendship and interdependence, humility and strength, and then power of love. So I don't know if anyone has any feedback on, is this something that you want to preserve along the corridor? Do you want us to explore something new?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lupka. I know that when DPD took our field tour in January 2020, right after our kickoff, we conducted a field survey, and we had teams from DPD, Park District, water management, CDOT. We had a whole crew of folks out there. And this was one of the things that we absolutely loved about the walkability, was that you had these community identifiers in sidewalks strategically located along the corridor. And it was a great nod to culture. And so there are a couple questions. Are you taking questions now on some of the stuff already? Okay,
Yeah,
great. So let's take a couple questions. There's a couple in the chat here. One was, are you stating that you have 1,300 responses from residents in Auburn Gresham community already? And how can residents get informational dates and times for the meetings?
No, we haven't done any surveys in Auburn Gresham yet for this project. This is kind of just introducing everyone. We will start that. I was just making a point that since we've kind of gone through this COVID and doing these project surveys virtually, we've had some good success in getting responses. In a project we're currently working on, not in Auburn Gresham, we received 1,300 responses. So it's just a plea that, like, once we get that project survey going, we would love to send it to this group. And if you could help distribute it, I mean, we want to get as many responses as we can, right? So any sharing helps.
Yeah, and then we'll also work with the Alderman offices as well to reach out to the larger greater Auburn Gresham community, working with all the Aldermen affected in this community. So we'll do that so they can also use their information chains to get it out there as well.
And of course, the dates for any kind of public event or Invest Southwest Roundtable, that will be through DPD, through the Alderman's office. We also canvass the corridor. We'll walk down the corridor with the flyer handed to all the businesses. So everyone will be made aware in advance of when meetings are coming up for this project.
Yeah, and there's also a question here from Maria's iPhone. When were these community identifiers agreed upon?
So I think this was probably 10 to 15 years ago. You know, if the designs, I believe this project was done and completed, you know, in 2008 or 2009. And if you backdate a couple of years for design, so a little while ago.
Yeah, and obviously that was a long ago project, and it's good to see that they're still here. And I see that Kaim Anderson wants to preserve them, and Norma Sanders has also said, we have continued to incorporate the Adinkra symbols in quality of life planning, school programming, and art projects across. It's a cultural identity that all may know the history, but it has a history and the programs being supported. See this as an identifier. Yeah, this is great. So are there any other questions for CDOT right now? Anyone have a question for CDOT? Okay. And do you want to also just for the, as a final comment, Lipka, and let us know the level of investment that this program, you want to remind us again, what is the level of investment from the mayor's program into this community?
Sure. So we have a project budget of $11.7 million in capital bond funding for the project, and it's fully funded.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Everybody here has heard that that's almost $12 million worth of capital investment that's going to be made in this community. We've got the scope area, we've got the project laid out here. And Luca, you'll be back, right, in September,
Oh, yes.
probably
We're
to give
gonna
us a more in-depth briefing. And as well as you'll be back in future meetings, and you will also start your own engagement process through CDOT's work with the streetscape, right?
Correct.
So there will be plenty of more opportunity for a community to engage and provide feedback and to inform the process, correct?
Yes, and I'll drop the our project website into the chat, so you can also engage that way. I mean, it's pretty basic right now, but there's opportunity to submit your comments, and we'll get them.
Mhm.
So there is a comment box, but that will also be updated with meeting notices, information, recordings of presentations or PowerPoints, depending on whether we're virtual or in person. So it'll have information. So I'll copy and paste that in there.
Okay, thank you, Luca, for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, and then someone's asking, when is the next meeting date and time? Are you speaking, Ms. Peoria resident or Mr. Peoria resident, for the next roundtable, the next community meeting, or the next CDOT meeting? Can you please either unmute yourself and talk to us, or if you want to continue to
CDOT
chat?
meeting. It was the CDOT meeting.
Oh,
That's what she
okay.
was speaking to.
Okay,
We don't have a date currently. It's going to be sometime in late summer. So we'll definitely make sure that everyone here knows.
okay, this will be the last question. I think it's probably pertinent, and we'll let your Luca. This is from Crystalline Charity. She's a resident. She says, is there any allowance in the budget for parking to accommodate the expected additional traffic in the area? Now, of course, we're talking a couple years from now, so.
So we'll take a look. We'll do some parking utilization and parking numbers to see how many are existing, right? We're limited in our right of way. We have what we have. It's the street. So we'll see what the opportunities are. We may not be able to add additional parking on the corridor, but we can take a look at the side streets if any of those are wide enough to have diagonal parking, and you may be able to pick up some spots that way. But as I recall, those streets tend to be a little bit more narrow than diagonal parking requires, but we'll definitely keep it in mind. Thank you for the comment.
And Luca, if you could just hang out for a few more minutes. I know you have a hard stop yourself, but there's a couple questions in the chat that you can answer while we continue the roundtable.
Will
Okay,
do.
thanks, Luca.
You got it. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank
Guys,
you.
have a good night.
All right. All right. Next up is we're happy to have with us tonight. Previously introduced her, but Kimberly Brisky is with Summer Corps, and she's their Director of Community Engagement. She's going to provide us with a Small Business Improvement Fund update. Kim, welcome to the roundtable.
Thanks so much, Patrick, and thank you everybody for having me tonight. I'm with Summer Corps, and we are proud to administer both the Spiff Fund as well as NOF, which I know my good friend Jim is going to be talking about after this. And I would just say, but as a precursor, before I get started tonight, there's going to be a lot of information on these slides. Please don't feel this is the first and only time you're going to get it. Patrick has access to this presentation, as well as at the last page of my slide, we'll have all of our contact information. Additionally, we do a rollout every single month for Spiff, and you don't have to go to the rollout for your particular district. You can come anytime. The information is almost identical. The only thing that's different is the maps. So if this is something that's interesting to you, please feel free to reach out. All right, Patrick, next slide. So again, for Spiff, for those who are not aware, this is a non-competitive grant that is for small business and property owners to make permanent building improvements. So this is going to be not for residential, but for small businesses actually making the permanent improvements. It's funded by TIF revenues, as well as the mayor did put the biggest investment in Spiff, and it's over 20 years of existing, December 2020, over $60 million in new authorizations. And nearly half of it is going to communities in the south and west sides, which is great. But for your reference, the program touches 84 different districts, Spiff districts around the city on all sides. Next slide. So this is always the most asked information, so I always put it at the top, which is how much money can you access for these grants? So if you are a commercial business, we're going to be in a single tenant, $150,000 is the maximum grant size for you. If you're industrial single tenant, $250,000. So this is sort of when you're thinking, this doesn't mean that your project has a hard stop at that amount of money. You may, when you're doing a project, end up having to spend $300,000, $400,000, or you have costs that aren't necessarily eligible, but just know this is how much money you could be receiving up to. Next slide, please. So when we're talking about the up to 250,000, or in the case of commercial, 150,000, the key question is how much of your eligible costs would you be able to be reimbursed for? There are a couple of different buckets here. If you're a commercial business that has under 3 million in net worth, that means that of your eligible cost for your project, you will get 90% paid for in a grant. Let's say you have $100,000 in a project that's deemed eligible work, you will end up only being on the hook for that $10,000. So that's clearly a big difference to make improvements. If it's an industrial project, across the board, doesn't matter about your net worth, it's going to be 50% of your eligible costs up to the $250,000. Next slide, please. And so, okay, so we already know how much money you could access. Let's talk about who's actually eligible to get it. The key number one is that you actually have to have your property, whether you are the owner of the property or the tenant, with a landlord approval, and that you are actually physically located, your business, not necessarily where you live, your business located in a TIF district with available space, and that it's open for taking applications. We talked a little bit about in terms of like your gross sales over here. We talked a little bit about that on the last slide, so we'll keep on moving. So, keep on moving forward. Sorry about that. So again, and if you're industrial, in addition to, being the 50% maximum, your only other criteria is being 200 or fewer full-time employees. Next slide. So we know how much money you could get. We know sort of about who could be potentially eligible. Let's talk about what businesses would be a good fit for the Spiff program. I've helped pretty much any other kind of business under the sun, from boutiques to restaurants, design studios, manufacturers. The store that we have coming out soon is a luggage factory that's been around for 100 years. So we've done a lot. But there are some that are excluded from the program. This is the list here. It's not comprehensive. So if you have questions, feel free to give us a buzz at SummerCore or at DPD, and we can find out for you. Sorry. Okay, so I kind of like to continue on with that. We know how much money we can get. We know what businesses are eligible. So let's figure out what can we actually do with this money when we have it. So when we're again talking about permanent building improvements, so that's going to be the things that you can't take in and out on a dolly. So we're talking about your facade, your storefront, windows and doors, HVAC, your roofing, all those kinds of things. So this is really an ADA compliance, of course, as well. So these are really the key things that you should be thinking about. It's not going to be just a coat of paint. But, and just like that, it's not going to be those incidental repairs. It's going to be the big things that are going to impact your business, not only your business, your community. Next slide. So as I just mentioned, the things that we're not going to be able to do, things like furniture, ground up construction, landscaping, things like that, and anything on a residential unit. So as I alluded to, commissioner, for him, design is a critical component of all of these funding programs for business development. And he has really put an emphasis on actually making sure that Spiff grant fund grantees, that you're using money to not only just do the interior systems, but the exterior. I think we all know that that kind of goes hand in hand in the work that CDOT is now talking about. You know, we want to make sure you've got the identifiers, you've got the sidewalks, but if your facade is crumbling or the wind or the lights are broken overhead, that, you know, it sort of defeats the purpose. So we want to encompass the entire neighborhood, but it's not only making it look nice, it's making it fit the vibe of where they are. And so we actually have, you know, planners and designers who are familiar with it. You know, Patrick knows, you know, what the look is that matches this area. So if you decide you want to try to access Spiff funds, working with him and his team to make sure you are matching that is a great way to start. Next slide, please. So here's the biggie. The next news is, okay, so when's money going to be available in our neck of the woods? So this is the map for the 79th Street Spiff rollout. As you can see on this map, this is the blue is the entire 79th Street Spiff district. What's in yellow is the actual Invest Southwest corridor. So you can see this is a big, you know, basically the corridor is covered here with this opening, which is really exciting. The application period opens October 1 and closes November 1. So this means don't send us anything before October 1, because we're going to toss it out the door because we've got other applications for that current month. And it's a 3-page application, relatively simple. And what you're going to want to know is we're going to want to know, okay, what business is it? What kind of basic scope of work are they going to want done? Are they the tenant? Are they the landlord? And the contact information. That's the basics that we're going to need for the application. And as I mentioned at the top, every month we have a webinar that goes into detail about the program, what to expect. This one is scheduled for October 6th, and the contact information at the last slide will tell you how to register for that. So this is really, this rollout coming in October is really going to impact your neck of the woods, especially the ISW corridor. Next slide, please. As you can see, later on this year, it butts right up against that corridor, and it's just that the Spiff district for 79th and Sens is like just the tiniest little bit right there also is eligible. So a lot of your neighbors might still be interested. It is, when we're talking about Spiff district, it's down to the address. Your neighbor could be on one side, you could be on one side. So it's important to double check your address before you apply. This is actually opening in December, closing December 30th. Same process for everything as the other. Just make sure you send it only during those dates. Next slide, please. Sometimes it's, you know, we talk, but sometimes it's nice to look. I think if any of you guys are familiar with Brewer Coffee and Custard, Elijah over there, he's the man. This is a really cool story. I mean, this is a family-owned business or was building, and they've turned it into this awesome space. As you can see, this is a full gut job inside and out. And what a difference from, you know, windows, the chain link, and they built in there. I went and toured and had the custard, which is A+, like, you know, like the kitchen and everything. And it's really nice. So you can see what you can do with the funds. Next slide, please. And I'll make sure I will get on here. So here's kind of when we're talking about the actual Spiff application process and kind of what to expect. I would say up front, we know, because unfortunately we have to tip our hat to it all the time, COVID. We know it's impacted everything, impacted cost of materials, availability of workers. But we really do our best to try to stay strict to the timeline. And the key is communication. If you let us know things are going off track, it's a lot easier for us to help keep you engaged and successful with the program. So you apply between October 1, November 1. Then we ask for you for the follow-up information to fulfill your application, which will be in the next slide, which we'll get to in 1 second. And then once you are approved, you actually start work. And during that time, as you have to be able to show proof of financing. Now, what do I mean by that? This is a grant, but it's a reimbursable grant, meaning that you should be prepared with financing to do this project, knowing that you will be able to get reimbursed for it at the end. We are going to be opening an escrow option. That means that you won't have to have all of the money up front, just part of it, and then we'll be able to pay out. That's coming this year, which will be great. So by the time any project's approved here, you'll have escrow access. And then we'll do the final site visit and you'll be squared away and ready to go. Next slide, please. So don't be overwhelmed by this list, but just know that, in addition to the 3-page application, we are going to be asking you for other documentation through the process as you complete stage 2. A couple of things that we know that can trick people up is making sure you have your business license all squared away, making sure you don't have any scofflaw issues with the city, so water, parking tickets, anything like that. And then when you know what your work is going to be, applying for permits sooner rather than later is the way to go. The only thing I would caution is just don't start any work until you get your approval letter. We can't reimburse for any work that's already done or work that's done before you get that approval letter. So just make sure you have caution with that. Next slide, please. So I'll wrap it up here. I apologize, I talked a little long, but these are all the key people and information that you need to know. My partner, Nora, who's at DPD, her information and the website there that the City of Chicago has done for Spiff. That's my colleague, Sylvia. At Summer Corps, we've got a team of 6 who handle it, and as well as our website. Additionally, I'm going to put Carlos and Norma on the spot. We know that they are awesome team members that can help applicants walk them through the application process. So that would be another great place to start if you have basic questions. So I see a bunch of things going in the chat. Patrick, if you want to just read them off to me, and I'm happy to try to help.
So let's see. Thank you very much for that presentation and program update, Kim. It was great. Let's see. All right. Mr. Thomas, okay, it may be a nice little shop, but does not replace losing your grocery store, pharmacy, bank, and sit down. This is what the focus should be for the community. I think he's referring to some other things that are going around in the community with respect to planning and development, obviously. But
Well, I can't say grocery stores are eligible. Not in this community, but my brain is not remembering what community is. I apologize. But there's a grocery store actually that actually was a grocery store, turned into an auto body shop, and now turning into another going back to a grocery store. So that is something that could potentially happen. So
right. Okay. So then he also asks, can the Spiff be used to bring back these community anchors? So let me ask it in this way. Can Spiff be used as an incentive to attract business to come to communities, or has it been in the past?
That's an interesting question. Here's what I would say, yes, because it doesn't have to be an existing business. It can be a startup business, or it could be a business perhaps, but doesn't have a location yet. So you can't use the Spiff dollars to actually acquire the building. But let's say once you have it, or you have a lease agreement, but it's new to you, you haven't used the space, that's the time that you can actually make it what you want to make it. And the Spiff dollars can be used, for the full gut interior rehab. I mean, that's sort of what happened with Brewer Coffee and Custard. It was nothing, and now it was something. So I think that is an encouraging thing to bring new businesses.
No, I agree 100%. Having this tool out there is a great piece to entice folks to say, hey, there's resources available. Let me start the business here. Let me bring it to that area, and let me see how I can use it to, really jumpstart my business. There was a question here from Norma. She says, is there any chance to expand the Vincennes Spiff? Is there a process for that? Now, I did respond, and I asked her if that was the TIF district or the timeline for the application for the Vincennes window in December. So I'm waiting for her, or if you want to unmute yourself, Norma.
Yes, the district.
So I have a public policy background, but I would say I don't know the nitty gritty of this, but I know TIFs are interesting because it's state level, but then it's also City of Chicago level. So we unfortunately can't willy-nilly on our own just reauthorize the district or redraw the boundaries. That's not something, to my knowledge, we have, the ability to do. However, I would say, that's something that maybe, the Alderman can be bringing up to people at DPD, maybe to ask questions about what the process would be. I'm not familiar with it, but.
Yeah, so okay, thank you, Norma, for clarifying your question. You're talking about expanding the district to capture a larger area. And typically the process for that would be in an existing TIF, right? So this is an existing TIF. How would we expand the area or contract the area? That would be called an amendment to the TIF. That would have to go to city council, but that would also have to have a justification. So we would have to engage a TIF consultant who does studies and plans and examine the area to determine whether or not we want to, if the goal was to expand, and then we'd say, okay, how much more, what would be the, economic impact to that and all that. And if it was to contract, then, let's reduce the district and, and all the reasons and justifications as to why. So, but that would be a city council ordinance. And then that would come with another term. I believe they would extend the term or change it, extend it to that, 23 years or what have you. So that's a more complicated question, right? But that is the process where there would be a TIF examination by the department and a consultant to determine whether or not that would be feasible. And then if so, then we would proceed to city council to designate new boundaries, right? And then that would be an amendment to that TIF district. And it was, so that's how that process would work. And then of course, if we did expand it, there would be that many more businesses, if they were in that district, that would be eligible for this tool, because that tool would be in that TIF district, which would then be expanded. So that's how that would work. I don't see any more questions. I think it just makes sense to roll right into the next tool that we have, and there might be some more questions that will be a combo. So Kim, if you don't mind hanging around a little bit.
I will stay for the NOF, and I'm going to put my email in the chat.
Yes,
I
please
don't
do.
always know the answer, but I can usually find the people who do. So I appreciate you all having me. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kim, for your presentation. I'm now excited to introduce my boss, Deputy Commissioner Jim Harbin, who many of you know personally as well as professionally. He is the man over here at DPD, and he is going to run us through the NOF program update. Jim?
Yes, thank you, Patrick, and good evening, everyone. I know a lot of people on the call, but just in case, my name is Jim Harbin. I'm a Deputy Commissioner here with the Department of Planning and Development, and Kim was very correct in saying this. The NOF program is very similar to the Spiff program. As a matter of fact, if there was a grandfather of these type of programs, the Small Business Improvement Fund is the grandfather. NOF, the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, is the child. And the child has benefited from a lot of the aches and pains that 20-year, and by the way, Spiff has been around for 20 years. That 20-year program now, NOF has had an opportunity to benefit from some of the aches and pains of that program. Next slide, Patrick. So we are opening up in 3 weeks, and we're going to reopen after closing our application back last month. We just announced our finalists for the first round of 2021 back on July 21st. We had 24 individuals who literally became what we call finalists in terms of getting their small businesses either expanded, relocated, or built in some cases. Next slide. So I'm cutting to the chase. This program is about $250,000 for small businesses to either expand, grow, or build their business. One of the things that gets lost in our program is because, it is the second piece of what I think is just as valuable for our program. We are a technical assistance program. So, Kim just walked you through a lot of information. Part of what we want to do with our program, and they are doing it also with Spiff, but we like to emphasize it on this end, that we are there to support the local entrepreneurs and small businesses in the geographies across the south and west sides of Chicago. And let me say that one more time. We're chasing local small business people. This is to say to the small business community within Auburn, Gresham, within Inglewood, within Lawndale, we have money for you to activate some of these empty storefronts where people decided to leave. We have money for you to reactivate those buildings so we can have local small businesses who are embedded into the community. We are there to support not only those small businesses, but we want to attract cultural amenities. So there are small businesses, there are nonprofits who want to bring in programming for the young men and women in our community. We want to help support that. We want to make sure that as the community starts seeing investment, that there's an ongoing resource for that investment to continue. Next slide. So how do you determine where our geography is in terms of where you qualify? Well, there's a very easy way to do it. You can go to chicago.gov/NOF. You go to that website and type in an address you're interested in, and instantly it will tell you if you're eligible. And if you have any trouble navigating that website, we have a battery of people, including myself, including Patrick, including Kim, who can help walk you through that to make that determination. Projects must be located on the south and west sides of the city. North side, you won't find this program. Downtown, you won't find this program. What you have to be is either on one of the corridors that you see here on this map, and we have it broken down into 3 categories. One, you're either on the eligible corridor, or you get a few more points if you're on a priority corridor. And then if you look at the corridor that we're talking about today, which is 79th Street, if you're on the Invest South and West corridor, you even get more points. And these corridors we have identified through conversations with communities like yours that this is where they wanted to focus investment. Next slide. So what type of businesses are eligible? Well, you can be a commercial property owner. You can be a tenant on one of those properties. You can be a nonprofit organization. The only indication that we really are looking for if you're a small business is that you're located in one of those qualified investment areas we just shared. Next slide. So the type of eligible activity, first of all, one of the things that, differentiates us from the Small Business Improvement Fund is that new construction is eligible with our program. You can build from the ground up. So if you noticed anything about city-owned land, if there's one thing the city has, is plenty of city-owned land. This program can help support small businesses and proposals from local entrepreneurs who are looking to build in their communities. This program can be used for existing businesses or for startups. And obviously you can use it if you're expanding your existing business or you're doing a renovation of your existing business. But I want to make sure that people understand that there's also a distinction for our program. Our program is bifurcated. And could somebody put their phone on mute? Thank you.
Yeah, Lynette McCrae, can you please mute your phone? No worries.
So there's 2 components to our program. There's the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund grant, small grant program, which is the program I manage. That is simply grants that up to $250,000. This is a competitive, thank you, this is a competitive selection process. So you are competing against other businesses across the city, and these grantees are expected to complete their projects in 2 years. There is another component of our program called the Large Grant Program. Those are projects that are over $250,000. And let me repeat that. There are programs that are asking or requesting over $250,000. Those particular projects will need city council approval and will be required to have minority business and women enterprise requirements. Next slide. So Kimberly did a great job in terms of, indicating what's allowed. So I'm not going to go through that laundry list again and again. All our information is on our website, but it's easier for us to really kind of indicate what's not allowed. And one of the best analogies that I've heard that if you could literally pick up a building and turn it upside down and shake it, whatever fell out of that building is not eligible. We're looking for stuff that is staying with the asset, because if you're going to improve that asset in our communities, we want that asset to remain even if you leave. So painting is something that we don't allow for, even though painting can be part of an overall project. We don't allow the residential components of mixed-use buildings to be eligible. You can't use the grant program to resolve any code violations, and the grants can't be used for operating expenses. Next slide. So, again, one of the things that gets lost with the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund is our support system. And so part of what we want to do, and I'm going to start with the end first. You may have seen where we literally celebrated the 24 finalists that got recognized for being awarded the program. You might also have recognized when we have projects get to the finish line, the city just comes all out and makes sure we are there with you to help you celebrate that ribbon cutting. And as a result, help you market your business to the rest of the city of Chicago. So we utilize and have embedded that component within this program. And then the concierge support, when you are going through permits, or you have to go through inspections, or you have to go through your scofflaw checks, or you have to get your business license. We have staff on board that are literally going to hand walk you through those processes. Then one of the things that I'm very proud of is our technical assistance. We have lending coaches, we have construction managers, and more importantly, we really want our projects to pop. If you're going to invest in our community, it's not a matter of just slapping some drywall up and putting some paint up. We want those projects to pop. You're not only investing in your brand, but you're investing in our community, and subsequently you're investing in the city of Chicago. And as a result, when you finish your program, when you finish your project should be celebrating not only your business, but the community in which you invested. Next slide. So, we can get into the weeds. There's a lot of components of this program that we'd like to share, but we thought we would just lead with the headline. There's $250,000 available through the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. There's up to another $150,000 available through the Small Business Improvement Fund. We are chasing local investors. We are chasing local businesses. We are encouraging people within the community to invest in those particular programming and storefronts that we are missing. We're asking people within the community to take advantage of these programs and start resolving some of these issues ourselves. So we can be contacted at the information you see here. I am going to leave my email and my cell phone in the chat. Many of you already have both, but those of you who don't, I'm going to make sure you do. We want to get these dollars out the door to local entrepreneurs. We're going to need everyone on this call to help us do that. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Patrick, and I'm going to stick around for questions.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you for that presentation. We have a couple questions. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in this funding tool. And looks like there's some confusion from the chat that hopefully, Jim, you can clear up. Let's begin with calling out a few responses here. Let me go back up here. All right. Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. This is from Peoria resident. Neighborhood opportunity funds are what is needed in our community and not the housing projects proposed on the corridor. This is what the community residents have continuously shared at the roundtable. And I read that for a reason, because I'm gonna come down a little bit. And there was another question that accentuated that statement from Ms. Peoria. And that is by, let me see, right here, Miss Crystalline Charity. She says, yes, these NOFs should completely blanket the neighborhood. Auburn Gresham is not in need of the two housing projects proposed to be on the very busy business corridors between Halsted and Green on 79. Now, the reason why I wanted to ask you that question, Jim, is so that you can clarify. The NOF program is not a tool that is available to give out, much like TIF is used to incentivize developers. It's actually a tool that is there to be utilized by applicants. So if there are businesses or folks who are eligible, they have to actually come to DPD and ask for the money. Can you kind of clarify that? Because it's not something that we just automatically put in a capital stack for a project.
Yeah. So, two things. One, the lion's share of city incentives for small businesses get triggered by two things. One, you get triggered by geography. So, as you know, Patrick, 95 to 98% of our incentive programs on the south and west sides of Chicago. That's where the underinvestment has happened. That's where we want to trigger investment. The other way you trigger this investment is you do it through an application process. So our program is literally looking for individuals to articulate their plan, articulate their business. Tell us what you're going to do in the community. Tell us how much it's going to cost. Help us understand how we can plug in and utilize this program to help you realize that dream. So yes, we are encouraging individuals to take advantage of this program, but you have to trigger it through an application process, making a specific request for dollars to get the project done.
Thanks, Jim. That's a great answer. Yeah, Miss Charity, it's just thank you, Jim. That's a great answer. So hopefully everyone knows now that the opportunity. Jim said it. We have plenty of vacant lots on the south and west sides. Plenty of opportunity for new construction, which is an eligible use for this NOF program, and that we are encouraging businesses. And so I'll say Spiff and NOF are both tools that encourage small business development and activity. We want to support that. There's plenty of opportunity on the corridor, and you saw the entire district of the TIF district for Spiff, as well as the eligible areas. You just put in your address and it'll tell you exactly if you're eligible or not. This is a great tool. We want to encourage, and someone here is saying there are many people who live in Auburn, Gresham, who would love to have businesses in their neighborhood. We also share that same vision that you have, ma'am, Miss Charity. This tool is there to support that, encourage it, and subsidize those development costs, and as well as a plethora of other things that we do with inviting folks into our architect process. We have a tool for that to help you get technical support and assistance to make sure that your proposal is on point when you are ready to present to DPD. So we're here to help. Our contact information is here. Jim has left his number in the chat. You saw on the first slide, the program partners, Sophia Carey and Jim Harbin run the program. And then if your project needs more than $250,000, we have a vehicle for that called NOF Large. So let's move on. We thank Jim for his, and Kim for your presentations. And let's move on to one more city department update. We have Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. And Jim and Kim, again, if there are more questions in the chat, can you guys hang out a little bit and kind of follow that and answer directly to the folks? We have about 15 minutes left on our clock here. We want to make sure that we get our presenters in and out. Thank you. Let's introduce Lydia Ross, who you all know, who's part of the Roundtable, been here many times. She manages the Artists in Residence program, and we're excited to have her here tonight. And Lydia Ross, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thanks for that introduction, Patrick. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for making a little time to hear about art. I'm going to provide a quick plug for an open opportunity at Whitney Young Branch Library, your neighboring branch, and just ask that you help spread the word to the great artists that you know throughout your community. And then I'll be excited to turn it over to Dorian Sylvain, our Invest Southwest artist in residence for Auburn Gresham, who is excited to have a little FaceTime with you all. It's been a bit. Next slide, Patrick. And next. So the Whitney Young Branch Library is over at 415 East 79th Street. Nope, previous, thanks. And the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, where I work as the Director of Public Art, in partnership with the Chicago Public Library, Alderman Sawyer, and a wonderful committee of public library advisors. We're seeking artists who are interested in developing a permanent public artwork that will live in the interior courtyard of Whitney Young Branch Library. And there's a photo on the left of the interior courtyard that you can see from almost every angle inside the beautifully and recently renovated new library. It is a smaller commission. It's just under $20,000, but we're really excited and hope that this could be a great opportunity for even a younger artist who's just starting out in their career and who's really excited to design something that is durable for the outdoors, but that even more importantly embraces the rich civil rights and entrepreneurial heritage of the community served in and around the library branch. We are right now seeking qualifications. So this is the first stage where we're putting the word out to get interest from as many artists as possible, essentially asking them to send a one-page letter. Why are you interested? Let us get to know you a bit. And then some images of their portfolio. And the deadline is coming up fairly soon. It's Sunday, August 8th at midnight. Next slide, please. So if you are interested in learning more about this opportunity, I provided the link here. I'll put it in the chat as well, that has the full call detail, a lot more information about the library's history, about the site, about the timeline. But from here, we'll get hopefully as many artists as possible who are interested. Our panel reviews the applications and works with a few finalists to develop proposals. And during that process, there'll be more opportunities for the finalists to talk to all of you and other community roundtables organized with the Alderman's office and the library. So you're also more than welcome if you have general questions or you're interested in, talking through the opportunity. If you are an artist, just email us at publicart@cityofchicago.org. And I'll also put my email and the link to this request for qualifications in the chat. And with that, since we are really short on time, I'm going to turn it over to Dorian Sylvain. Thanks for waiting, Dorian, and thanks everybody for letting me join you for a few minutes.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. My name is Dorian Sylvain, and I have been a working artist in the city of Chicago, particularly on the South Side, for almost 4 decades. I was honored and very pleased to be the artist. Antonia Reynolds could, that's so distracting. I don't know if she can hear us, if maybe she can put her mic or his mic, I'm sorry, on mute. It sounds like a lot of noise going on there. So anyhow, yeah, so I was selected as the artist in residence and really excited. I've committed the last 4 decades of my arts career as not only a teaching artist, a public artist, a curator, and really just a community activist, fighting and always hollering for more public arts opportunities, particularly on the South and Southwest side. I'm born and raised in South Shore. My family was there for 5 decades, and I remain committed to several of the communities on the South and Southwest side. So excited to be developing new relationships in Auburn, Gresham. Currently,
sorry, Patrick, can you go to the next slide, please?
Oh, there's me. Okay, yay. So that's a slide of me, and the person you see right behind me actually is my son. My 3 boys work with me as muralists and community activists, and we just have a great time working together. This is just a photo real quick of us at the Hyde Park Arts Center when COVID first hit. And the shutdown just began. We ran over to the Hyde Park Arts Center, found a blank wall, and we painted a mural called "Stay Home and Make Art." And it was really a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm really excited about partnering in your neighborhood and the Auburn Gresham, as I said, and building more relationships and kind of building out toward the ends of creating more public art. Currently, the partners that I have been working with is one of my new best friends, Norma, at GDC, and we have been talking a lot about what's happening in the neighborhood. We have been creating a cultural map of the public art that currently exists. I've also developed a really great relationship at the Thurgood Marshall Library. Right now, I have a group of maybe about 12 young residents who are going to be the core of the Youth Arts Council for Auburn Gresham as I move forward in trying to create and design and install more public art around the neighborhood. One of the things that I also have kind of in line too is Block Club pop-up activations. I'm really interested, particularly this month of August, in connecting with Block Club events, and creating some opportunities of art making, such as storyboards, photo collages. I'm real interested in yard signs and block club signs. Growing up in South Shore, that was a real big deal in our neighborhood. And it's about trying to create some identity. But for me, it's also about, again, building relationships, about getting to know people. And I think block clubs are always a great place to begin at the ground. The young people that I had mentioned briefly that I have meeting, we meet weekly at the Thurgood Marshall Library, and we're already in discussion about a couple of phases of public art that we would like to install onto the library itself. But it's also is working as a great partnership, and I think it will be sort of a home base for me through the winter months. The students and I are also planning, because school is headed back in for real this time, I think. We're thinking of doing such things as sidewalk chalkscapes that could be passageways or entranceways into the schools, kind of as a welcome back to school. So we're thinking of that activation. And lastly, I know I'm kind of talking fast here, but lastly, we also have a lot of open fields around Auburn Gresham, and we've been in very active discussion about how we can activate these fields, and particularly across from like the Healthy Hub lifestyle. I'm really particularly interested in that area, in addition to many others. But the first activation we are thinking about is going to be an installation that not only engages common materials in a kinetic manner, particularly ribbons, bamboo. I'm creating some drawings and a model currently that will be making use of very simple elements to create soundscapes and kinetic colorscapes. And so right now I'm looking at scale, I'm looking at just the logistics of putting it together. But all that just to say that my mind is like going crazy in terms of the things that we can do in the neighborhood. Really interested again in connecting with the block clubs, because that will be an opportunity to have one-on-one conversation in terms of what the community is interested in, what things they have found successful, what things they would like to see. So I do want to take that opportunity to also survey and just communicate. And then lastly, I would say too that I'm also very interested in using my youth council group to help design and submit designs for these identifiers. I think that what has already been started in Auburn Gresham around the idea of the Adikra symbols and the Afrocentric aesthetic is something I would really like to build on and expand, because we as a people, we come from a broad diaspora. And so was real excited to hear that we could actually get 8-foot square identifiers as opposed to the 2-foot square. So the fact that our capacity has expanded a little bit, I think is really exciting. And I think that these also could be great moments for some of the young artists in the neighborhood to have some design influence. So these next few months are going to be really busy. I'm hoping to meet more people personally, and hoping that we will be able to connect and create some new stuff. I mean, the kids that I have are just awesome. A lot of them are are kind of Chicago Public Library kids who, you know, really are engaged and really curious young people. So I'm so excited to have them and hoping to even build out more once schools get back. Leo High School is on my list. The idea of just broadening broadening the intention, broadening the voices of the young artists in the neighborhood is really just at the core of everything I'm trying to do. So thank you for the opportunity to chat with you tonight. And next time I'm hoping to have some pictures I can share with you, which is much more exciting than just listening to me, you know, ramble on. but thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorian. It's good to see you back. It's been a while, and we're happy that you have continued to, you know, curate ideas for the art that this community will ultimately benefit from. And added bonus, you're bringing our young people to the table, which is also an exciting thing for them to do, having positive activities for the summer. As we know, it's a challenging summer, and we want to make sure that our folks are engaged in constructive and positive activities. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions for you, so let's just roll right into our community updates. And let's first go to our Auburn Gresham corridor manager, Melinda Kelly, and her team. As you all know, she's with Chatham Business Association, and we thank you for joining us this evening. And Melinda, welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Atkins.
Oh, sorry, so Jennifer Atkins will do the presentation. Jennifer Atkins is also on the CBA team, and let's welcome Jennifer to the roundtable.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I'm going to actually introduce others on our team who will be doing the presentation. But yeah, I'm with the team. I'm the executive director, interim executive director. I'm going to introduce Lorinda Chandler. She has done many things in the corridor, and she's going to start out. And then the corridor manager, who is Cynthia Love, she's with By the Block there in Auburn Gresham. She's going to close it out. Okay, so Lorinda, you're up.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. Can we hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so since we are close on time, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So we recently held a, next slide, please. Thank you, Patrick. All right, thank you. So we recently held a business workshop last month on June 18th. 30 people attended. Out of those 30, 15 were business owners and 4 were new potential business owners. We held this workshop outside under a tent so that we could continue to practice social distancing as well as enjoy, you know, the weather and stuff like that. So in addition to NOF awardees Jerk Villa, Sneed Hardware, we were joined by Ada Liquors, Walgreens, which are already in the corridor, and met with new business owners such as Winston Atwater, Afro Joe's, Coffee and Tea, and others, just to name a few that were interested in the 79th Street corridor. There was a high interest in the property owned by the Cook County Land Bank at 1415 and 1423 West 79th Street, which is why we chose that location to host the business workshop open house. We also had Cook County Land Bank commercial brokers on site to answer any questions that any of our attendees might have as well. Next slide. And this is just a quick chart of the results of the resident survey where we asked residents of the Auburn Gresham corridor where they shop. All right, next slide. Before we get on, I want to send out a really big thank you to Jerk Villa. They provided the lunches that was catered for the business workshop. After the introductions, Melinda Kelly began to describe the purpose of the business corridor workshop and the reason why we brought everybody out. Next slide, please. We also want to give a special thank you to 17th Ward Alderman David Moore. Alderman David Moore addressed the group, demonstrating his commitment to economic development and supporting local businesses. He also shared an update on the $70 million Metro Station that is being built, as well as the 11.2 million streetscape that is being installed, and new projects that are coming to the Auburn Gresham corridor as well. Next slide. We also want to send a really, really special thank you to Patrick Brutus of the City of Chicago Department of Planning. Patrick provided very, very valuable information regarding the NOF and other resources offered by the City of Chicago. AGB Investigative Services and Auburn Gresham Business presented cybersecurity for small businesses and helps facilitate the discussion on using technology in the corridor to address public safety. Again, my name is Lorinda Chandler, and I do work with the Chatham Business Association, working in the Auburn Gresham corridor. And I will now turn it over to Cynthia Love, who is the Auburn Gresham corridor manager for Chatham Business Association.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. I have to first apologize because of my bandwidth. I've been told that my bandwidth will be better if I have my camera off. So I'm going to do the best I can to kind of move around here. Again, as Lorinda said, I am the corridor manager for Chatham Business Association for the Auburn Gresham corridor. And I am a resident of many, many years of Auburn Gresham, where I live, and I love Auburn Gresham. And I'm excited to work on this project to get more businesses here. As you can see, the CBA Business Workshop was well attended by business owners on the corridor, as well as by potential business owners. Everyone was engaged in a robust conversation about Auburn Gresham, and it was facilitated by a professional urban planner. Next slide, please. During that session, we called on the attendees to tell us how we could attract economic development. These boards that you see were extremely large boards designed for interactive participation. We asked each participant to submit their ideas. Not only did we gather information, but we brought information with us to the workshop. And that was, did you know that housing and income were a big factor, and that there are 95,000 homes and over 213 residents within a 20-minute drive. And of course, as you can see on there, the average household earns over $54,000. Also, did you know that the number 79 bus had over 2,200 riders and 9,080 riders a day in 2021 pre-pandemic? And then, of course, Auburn Gresham has quality buildings, available spaces, and land, and it's a great place to invest. We also brought in, based on information from our urban planners, we brought in information regarding 79th Street corridor opportunities. So we found that 246 million in retail sales leaves Auburn Gresham each year in the form of somewhat of motor vehicle and parts dealers, general merchandise, food, and beverages. So from the market analysis, it revealed that the industries that are listed below have some retail gaps, which you'll see in the green column, tells us the resources that are going out of Auburn Gresham. Next slide, please. So from the onset of the project, we had to do an inventory of all of the vacant parcels, private properties, vacant properties, everything that was on the corridor. And we compiled that into a inventory book to help us to accommodate business owners and potential business owners so that they would know, well, we would know exactly what's going on in terms of each parcel if someone's interested in it. So we do have that information. And that's what we did from the onset. Now for the before we got there, there were other things going on, and they are in full effect now, which is the Healthy Hub, the Healthy Lifestyle Hub by Greater Auburn Gresham Development, the Urban Farming Campus, which I'm very excited about because it has a learning aspect, an educational aspect to it by Growers Collective and Green ERA. And then something that's much needed in our community is the Auburn Park Metro Station, which is a $52 million secured, $52 million metro station at 79th and Fielding. But we also have the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund that finances commercial and industrial projects in neighborhoods that lack private investment using revenue generated from downtown development. And since then, even though we have big projects, we also have some small projects through the NOF. Some of the new finalists in Auburn Gresham and the awarded projects, as you can see, Stevens Properties, Jamaica Jerk Villa, RH Sneaks, Hardware, Mickey's Retro Grill, and then we have projects at 79th and Halsted, Brewers Cafe, Fig Cafe, and RH Sneaks again. Next slide, please, Patrick. Also, during that same business workshop on the 18th of June, we asked several questions for the survey. And those questions, there were 6 of them. Do you own or rent in the corridor? What are your key issues? What information would you like to bring from the other city agencies? What improvements would bring more business investments in the community, in the corridor? And how do you market your business? Does your business have any of the following services? And those are digital services we were trying to find out, because we have a big disparity in Auburn Gresham with the businesses in terms of digital infrastructure. Next slide, please. As a result of the survey, question number 1, we have 34% of the business owners live in or near the corridor. 64% of them own businesses. The next question, what are the key issues in the 79th Street corridor? The main issue, public safety. Second issue is attracting new businesses, reaching more customers, parking, business licensing, permits, and then safe street crossing. Third question, would you have information for a meeting with the following agencies? And so most of them wanted to speak with Business Affairs, and the next up was Streets and Sands, Chicago Police Department, and the Chicago Department of Transportation. Fourth question, what improvements would you like to see on the business corridor? Was the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund grants, which we're well on our way to getting more people, the facade improvements, and safety. Next question, results are how do you market your business? A lot of them do it by word of mouth, which is kind of the old school way. So we're trying to encourage the businesses to get on the digital train. Some of them do social media, website, and advertising in other ways. Last question was, does your business have any of the following services? And we see that they do have point of sale. The largest one, e-commerce, which is maybe a website. They may do delivery through an app or loyalty points. Next slide, please. Okay, and so from the last business workshop that we did, we found that public safety was an issue with the businesses. So we're going to have another workshop coming up in the month of August, and it's going to be centered around hearing from the businesses, knowing that they want public safety, that their concerns. We're going to actually have, as couple of weeks. We had RH Needs Hardware, where we visited Miss Yolanda, who was an NOF recipient. She's done some wonderful improvements. We came out, we helped them to just, celebrate their great things that they're doing. They're a business that's been there for decades, and it's a family-owned business, and they've worked hard to stay there during the ups and downs of Auburn Gresham, and we were happy to support her. And so, if you have any questions regarding the survey or the market analysis, I'd be happy to, for the NOF, anything that we can help with as the corridor manager. I can put my information down in the chat, and I would be happy to help you. Thank you, Patrick. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, corridor manager team. We thank Melinda Kelly, Jennifer Atkins, and Cynthia Love. And I'm sorry, I forget. There's one more.
Lorinda Chandler.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Lorinda Chandler. Oh, Miss Chandler, thank you very much. And welcome to the roundtable, everybody. Look, we are a little bit over time. To be honest, I want to make sure we respect everyone's evening. We're already in prime time. I know you want to go watch the Olympics. But I know we had a slot for Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corp to provide an update, as well as the aldermanic offices. Do we have any more updates from GAGDC and or the alderman's offices?
Hey, Patrick, this is Norma. Because we're so over time and I had a 7 o'clock meeting, what we could potentially do is move the update till the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Well,
I mean, we don't have any slides. We were just going to give, just some quick updates that people probably know about already anyway.
Okay.
Kaim, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with
that. Do you want to share something? Does Kaim want to share anything? I mean, he actually manages the corridor. So.
Do you have 30 seconds worth of an update, Kaim? I'll give you 30 seconds.
30 seconds. We're going to have a Renaissance Festival crawl September 11th. Typically, it's about 25,000 people in the middle of 79th Street, from 79th Street and Racine to Ada, the Alderman's office. Typically, they'd have a site map, but we can go into details about that at the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Alderman Carla Glover, I think you're still here. I hope you're still here. Do you have an update from the 21st Ward? And if there isn't, that's fine. Hey, Carla.
Hi, everyone. I'll make it very quick because I do want to watch the Olympics. And so I just want to let you all know that this weekend at West Chatham Park, there's a couple things going on, but one more importantly is Chance, the rapper, and Bree are going to be gathering there for books and breakfast with students who are between the ages of 3 and 8 years old. So this is at West Chatham Park at 8223 South Princeton Avenue. They'll have free breakfast and a free family portrait and some free children's books. The last thing, but not least, is that we're having our 21st Ward back to school giveaway, book bag giveaway, and that is going to take place at Oakdale Park. That is Saturday, the third Saturday of August 21st from 12 to 4. So we have flyers that we're posting and all of that, but we can talk about more of that at the next meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carla. For those of you, West Chatham Park is behind Simeon. All right. And Alderman Moore, do you have any updates or any kind of news?
No, it's just along the lines. I left my staff at another time give those updates. But just as we talk about these businesses, like starting from west to east, the young lady about 2 years ago, we helped her, Melissa Gillenwater, at 79th, just at 79th and Yale, opened up a taco spot. African-American female, she came in, wanted to do that. So let's support those business as well as a young man who lived in the West Chatham community, which is not considered one of the 77 neighborhoods technically, but it's part of Auburn Gresham, but it's considered the West Chatham area. Opened up his new chicken restaurant. He had opened, he had worked for Harold's Chicken for years, lived in the community, and wanted to open a nice restaurant up, and it's very nice inside, right off of 79th and Yale. So definitely support that as well. I want to give a big shout out to Jerk Villa about almost 2 years ago, because they did so well at the location that everybody visit off of 79th and Union. They opened up a place in the South Loop. I'm sure you've probably been to, Patrick, that is just outstanding, top of the line downtown. And I met with the ownership almost 2 years ago, and we had an honest conversation. And I'm like, you made your money in Auburn Gresham, but you've built this nice facility in the South Loop. We need that in Auburn Gresham, and we stayed and we talked and we worked to help them get an NOF as well as some other funding. And they purchased a dilapidated building on 79th and Union, which they're transforming into a great sit-down restaurant for the community. So I'm excited about that. And then, as you all mentioned about Brewer Cafe, the Healthy Hub, and all the development that's coming along the corridor, and even big shout out to Sneed for the work that they did, Sneed Hardware. And so people have to support these hardwares. And I also want to give a big shout out to Stephen's property. Stephen had been talking to me. He was in my Chicago Lawn community, where he has a great top of the line boutique over there and a tax business. And he wanted to turn one of the bacon stores here off of 79th Street around Bishop and purchase that. And so we helped him get an NOF fund. So he's transforming that building, but also AJ Patton, who's taking a building that was crumbling on 79th and Loomis and totally rehabbing that. And so there's a lot of things, both inside what we're doing with the Spiff and NOF and outside funding that we're bringing to transform 79th Street. So I'm excited about all these young, especially Black entrepreneurs in our community that's coming up. And I've saw some things in the chat. More than anything, we continue to want residents from our community, like the young man at the chicken place who live in West Chatham. And for us to, get a business, buy a property, and transform it. So I'm happy when people from our community do it. But if we have young Black entrepreneurs outside of the community who come in and help transform it, then that's a plus as well. So we'll just keep building now. And we were also at some NOFs in our Chicago Lawn community. Today is the focus of the Auburn Gresham, but as the 17th Ward, we just don't live in one community. We touch all communities, Inglewood, West Chatham, Auburn Gresham, and Chicago Lawn. And we're going to continue to develop throughout the entire 17th Ward. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you for your State of the Union. I think you gave us the charge, continue to encourage our business community to seek out these resources. All I can say is leadership, resources, results. Okay, thank you, everyone. Our next meeting will be in person. We're going to come back to meeting in person. We did that successfully during the workshop process. We're going to come back on August 12th. We will be meeting in person in the ward. Location will be determined. We'll let you know. And then we will meet again on September 30th. That's all I have for you. We're over time. I appreciate you guys sacrificing your evening. We are recording this chat. We'll look at the questions. I see a whole lot of stuff coming in right now. We don't have time to address it, but thank you for your input. Thank you for your feedback. Great energy, and we'll see you in 3 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.